Hello?
Subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, press 5. To block this call, you may begin speaking now.
Hey.
Mr. Patrick.
Hey, Joe, how are you, buddy?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Man, I'm all right today. I'm all right. How was the holiday for you there? Was it all right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's prison, you know.
Yeah.
And then our government acts like they're fucking broke because they don't give you shit for food.
No?
No, it's crazy.
Man, that
Yeah,
is.
we can come up with another $140 million to send Ukraine, but we can't feed an inmate in a federal prison.
Yeah, I figured you were probably a little fired up about the pardon that happened this
Well,
week.
that too, yes. I mean, that's like a slap in the face to any American citizen that's ever been in jail or on probation for tax evasion or a gun charge, right?
Right? No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are upset by that.
Yeah,
But,
it's insane. You know, but it's no different than Trump. You know, Trump pardoned Charles Kirshner. You know, his son-in-law's dad.
yeah.
You got to be in their little elite circle, or you got to be one of their criminals to get justice in this country.
Well, sometimes it does certainly seem that way, doesn't it?
It does.
I've been looking at some of the evidence in your appeal here. I've been looking at some of the arguments that you guys are making in this appeal, and it's pretty interesting stuff in there, man. I mean, it sounds.
You have to wonder why the hell I'm in prison, huh?
Well, I mean, there's some things in there that are pretty interesting. I was just reading about, the situation with the money and how that you had, navigated around him many times by saying, I just don't have the money right now or whatever. And then
Well, and I never gave him any money.
Right.
I came up with an excuse. I knew something was wrong because Jeff Lowe was pushing this murder for hire too hard.
Yeah.
And Marinke kept saying, "Man, they're up to something. They're up to something." And did you ever watch the video of the undercover agent in the office?
I haven't seen that one yet. I was reading through everything, but go ahead.
Well, it's crazy because the undercover guy goes, "Well, can you get us some guns at a flea market?" No, can't do that. Well, can you go to Walmart and get us some burner phones? No, can't do that. And then just because they were standing in front of my office door, and I knew that James, and Jeff record each other, and they just criminal plots all the time. So just out of curiosity, I said, well, what do you charge? $10,000? Well, I ain't got $10,000. Okay, well, we'll do it for half. Well, I ain't got half. I said, the checkbook, is $13,000 in the hole. I'll have to wait till I have baby Tugger's born. That was my excuse all the time to get him the hell out of the office.
Right. Well, that's what I was reading, and then they just randomly wanted you to mail a phone. That they had you send, right?
Well, Alan came in the office and he says, Jeff wants you to mail my phone.
Yeah.
To him. Okay. So I took it to the secretary and said, I didn't even have Jeff's address. I took it to the secretary and said, here, Jeff wants you to mail this to him.
Huh. And that was that.
That was it. That was the end of it.
Now
Okay, but see what made it interstate commerce and made it a federal case is because he testified that I gave him the pizza phone to go to Florida and kill Carol. And I took a picture of her address with that phone.
I see.
Okay, and if you read in there, they had that phone in the courtroom, but they didn't let us know that. And the text messages on that phone from Alan to his girlfriend, he said, where did you get this phone? And she says, I stole it from the pizza restaurant.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, but the government just let him sit there and lie.
Huh. Well, I saw that it says that Glover committed perjury both during the grand jury and his trial testimony. That he
admitted to it.
Yeah, that he revealed it was scripted in advance by the government.
But have you got to the part where he went one step further and took the lawyers to the zoo and showed them how they were going to kill me to start with?
Well, yeah, that's what was next, right? I mean,
Fucking what? It's like, why has nobody been charged with nothing?
So, what is it? When you try to bring forth new evidence, Joe, and the court is, not wanting to hear that or see it. What is their argument against that evidence?
Okay, well, okay, Judge Polk in Oklahoma City, the judge. Okay, first of all, a lot of people don't understand that that judge was mine and Carol's civil judge in our lawsuits.
Okay.
And then he was my trial judge, and he was my sentencing judge, and he refused to excuse himself.
Okay.
Okay, so when we filed that motion for a new trial with all the new evidence,
Yeah.
he sat on that for
This call is from a federal prison.
19 months, and then we had to file another motion to make him answer it, and then he denied it within 2 hours, just to make me sit in prison. Okay, and one of the arguments that the lawyers have is because they admitted to perjury and some of the Brady violations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
By law, he should have gave me an evidentiary hearing,
Okay.
and he violated my rights by not doing that.
And so, in this appeal, is that part of the what you're arguing is that the process wasn't followed properly to begin with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
So we're asking for the case to be overturned, or I'm allowed a new trial, and out on bond,
mm-hmm.
or just dismiss the case because
Right.
of the new evidence and the perjury. So who knows what the hell's going to happen? But it's crazy that we have that evidence of the government witnesses, and I haven't read the exact appeal all the way through, but they were committing sex trafficking, bank fraud, identity theft,
Mm-hmm.
all during this investigation, and the federal wildlife agent covered all that up, so they would testify for him.
Mm-hmm. So they ran
Okay,
interference on their own crimes just to try to get you coerced into this.
The whole thing was to get me out of the zoo, and so they could have the zoo, and nobody would believe me about all their bullshit they were pulling at the zoo, because Lauren and Jeff were luring girls off the internet to the zoo with baby tigers, then drugging them and raping them at his cabin.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Now
Saf,
that part I didn't know.
it got so out of hand that Saf had to change the combination on the safe so Jeff couldn't get to ketamine.
Wow, that's
But
insane.
if you look on joeexoticofficial.com at
Mhm.
those recordings, there's recordings there that Lauren recorded them fighting, admitting to raping girls.
You know what I don't understand, and I think this is really helping to shed light on it, is it seems like that, when you have someone who is incarcerated and they're in a situation like you are, and there is compelling, obvious new evidence that needs to be looked at, and it's not, it takes a long time for that to happen. And you would think if you have someone that might be innocent, that should be your first priority, right?
But that's the upsetting part. That look, my lawyers have sent everything to the Department of Justice, to the Attorney General. They
Mhm.
sent everything to the Director of the FBI. They sent everything to the U.S. Attorney in Oklahoma City. And nobody cares.
They just
Nobody cares.
so I mean, but aren't they required to respond to your appeal request? I mean, they have to reply somehow, right?
They have not responded to this day to anything.
Really?
It's just ignored.
Huh.
So that's why I raise so much hell and I stay in the news so much, because surely to God, somebody on Trump's team is looking at this.
Well, hopefully it's not. Yes, absolutely. I hope they're looking at that as well as anyone else who could be in that circumstance, because it's a terrible circumstance to be in, and obviously, you're limited in what you can do, and the bad thing about the Department of Justice in that situation is they have a never-ending supply of money, whereas someone incarcerated does not.
Dude, that's why when they arrested me, they kept me in solitary confinement for 2 years in a county jail with no bond. So I couldn't help hire lawyers. I couldn't help build a case. I had to use public defenders, and they threw me under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I imagine I mean, what do they know? I mean, they're new and probably lots of
You
challenges
know,
there.
and they get paid regardless.
Yeah,
You know,
of
whether you
course.
win or lose.
Yeah.
Their goal is to get you to plea out. See, but the minute I wouldn't plea, because they only charged me with one charge to start with. The minute I wouldn't plead, then they charged me with 20 more charges.
Now, if you, in hindsight, if you could just plead to that one charge, would you have done that?
If I'd have known what I know today, I'd have been home already.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I wondered. If you know, in looking back.
But why plead? I mean, that's why there's 40,000 people in prison that shouldn't
No,
be.
you're right. You're
Because
absolutely right.
They were forced to plea out.
Well,
You know.
that was the point I was getting ready to make. Is that, you know, if you watch a lot of these documentaries and exposés, Joe, it's very common that you see that situation play out. And
Yeah, why should I plead to murder for hire when I didn't do nothing?
right, but then when you don't play ball, they stack up a
They
bunch of other
punish you.
things, and
I mean, look at Trump. He got 94 indictments.
right. No, that's fair. That's fair. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah,
That's how they play. If they can't get you one way, they'll stack you until they find something that's going to stick to the law.
right. Because really, they just want convictions. You know, that's what they
Right,
want to rack
right.
up are convictions. That's how they get
You know,
reelected.
and that's where I was bitching so much about Brittany Griner over in Russia.
Mhm.
You know, that we were bitching, our Justice Department and our president was bitching that
This call is from a federal prison.
Russia had a 99% conviction rate. Well, America's got a 98% conviction rate.
Yeah,
But when you look at Brittany Griner, Paul Whelan, or Trevor Reed, anytime they were in the courtroom or on camera, were they in orange jumpsuits, belly chained and shackled at the ankles and shit? No. They were
no.
in street clothes, and they looked good. In America, dude, you're in an orange jumpsuit and you're chained up like a monkey the minute you hit the courtroom and you look guilty.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the chains are a lot, aren't they?
Yeah.
It does seem, you know, a little much, to be honest with you. I mean, particularly if I'm being honest, someone such as yourself, because my guess is you've not been a danger or threat to anyone in
You
that
know-
institution at all.
You know, from the point I was arrested at 55 years old, I never even had a speeding ticket.
Yeah, and you were in law enforcement, for God's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, and they gave me a life sentence.
That's crazy, man. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to think that that's how this played out. You know. Now, I also understand that there's some, according to this, some evidence about the health conditions of the tigers that were found buried that seem to contradict what was said.
It would have proved my point that they were ill. And,
Yeah.
And the USDA would told me to put them down.
Mm.
But you know, the thing that happened during my trial there was my USDA agent that made me put them down.
Mm-hmm.
According to the public defender, she could not be found to subpoena her. How do you not find us a federal employee?
What do you mean you can't? Is she no longer a federal employee?
No, she's still an inspector to this day. But how do you not find a federal
Well,
inspector when you need to subpoena them?
I'm
But
pretty
that was
sure
their
you.
excuse. But,
That's
but
crazy.
I'm sure that she didn't want to testify because she didn't want to lie under oath.
Right. That seems like you should be able to compel that witness. I mean, of course, you can find them. They have a federal job.
On a new trial with real lawyers, we're going to.
Yeah, right. I mean, you would have to compel that. So it just seems like to me that there's so many different failures on the part of the prosecution here that should open a door to at least, at the very least, an appeal being heard or a new trial.
Yeah. You know, before my trial, they already made a deal during my trial that I couldn't talk about Carol's missing husband, which is what started our argument.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what our fight was all about. I couldn't bring up Jeff and Jeff and James and Lauren, what they were doing at the zoo, raping people and credit card fraud. I couldn't bring up nothing. They wouldn't let me talk about nothing. So the jury never heard my side.
Right. Well, I guess what were they saying? It was extraneous to the case matter, right? They're saying it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to.
Hey, Patrick,
yeah.
this thing beeped, which means it's going to hang up in 30 seconds. But, hey, would next Tuesday be good for you?
It would be great for me, Joe. Call. Let's talk more.
I'll put you down for 10 o'clock next Tuesday.
That'll work. I'll talk to you at 10 o'clock next Tuesday, Joe.
Hey, send my people a link to this, right?
I sure will, man. I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.